Stimulus checks, everybody, could be approved in the coming days. It has been confirmed by the federal government that benefits will be increased to provide more financial aid to people. Many seniors and Social Security beneficiaries will also see a larger monthly boost this month. And also the SNAP program was given a boost last year as millions of people across the nation saw an increase in their benefits. The increase is expected to be between $12 and $15 per person. SNAP benefits cover funds towards food for millions of low-income families, especially during this time. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, which manages the program, said in a recent report that more than 9.3 million households and over 21 million people who received SNAP benefits in August and many people benefited from this. And there are emergency measures in place to ensure SNAP recipients get all the money that they need. One of the measures covers the crisis, meaning states which met certain requirements received the maximum possible money. And there is a large number of states that currently qualify to receive the maximum possible funding for increased SNAP benefits. These are states like Illinois, Georgia, and Texas. So everybody, families of four, living in any of the 48 states, including DC, is the maximum allocation for the year will be around $835. And in the state of Alaska, for families of four people, the maximum is between $1,000 and $1,700. So one big thing to remember, everybody, is that those are emergency relief measures and the crisis worsens. So friends, benefits will be increasing more for recipients of Social Security this year. The Social Security COLA is 5.9% this year, and the SSA announced that 5.9% COLA will be the biggest boost to Social Security beneficiaries' checks in about 40 years. In 2021, the Social Security COLA was 1.2%. The last time the annual adjustment came close to the 2022 figure was in 2009. And there are over 64 million Social Security beneficiaries that will see this extra money in their monthly checks this year. So there are some big changes made to Social Security. It has been 39 years since Congress taken action to change Social Security. And there are several House Democrats that are hoping to change that with a bill to improve benefits that have been revamped and introduced in Congress.
Madam President, day after day here on the floor of the Senate and back in their states, many of my colleagues talk to the American people about how deeply concerned they are about the deficit and the national debt. They tell us that we just don't have enough money to expand Medicare, to cover dental care for seniors, to cover hearing aids, to cover eyeglasses. We just don't have enough money to do what every other major country on earth does, and that is guaranteed paid family and medical leave. At a time when hundreds of thousands of bright young people are unable to afford a higher education and millions are struggling with student debt, my colleagues tell us that we just don't have enough money to provide 2 years of free tuition at community colleges. When we have over 500,000 Americans sleeping out on the streets, including a few blocks away from the nation's capital, we just don't have enough money to build the low-income and affordable housing this country needs. And at a time when the scientists are telling us that we face an existential threat in terms of climate change, we are told that we just don't have enough money to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel and create a planet that will be healthy and habitable for our kids and future generations. Just don't have enough money. Yet today, the U.S. Senate will begin consideration of an annual defense budget that costs $778 billion. $778 billion for 1 year. And that is $37 billion more than President Trump's last defense budget, and $25 billion more than what President Biden requested. And by the way, all of this money is going to an agency, the Department of Defense, that continues to have massive cost overruns year after year, wasting enormous amounts of money, and is the only major governmental agency in the federal government not to successfully complete an independent audit. Now, isn't it remarkable how even as we end the longest war in our nation's history, the war in Afghanistan, concerns about the deficit and the national debt seem to melt away under the influence of the military-industrial complex. People sleeping out on the street, people dying because they don't have any health care, kids unable to get the early childhood education they need, not a problem. Can't afford to pay for those things. But somehow when it comes to the defense budget and the needs of the military-industrial complex, we just cannot give them enough money. But that is not all, and I want the American people to know this, because I suspect many don't. It is very likely that in the defense bill, or attached to the defense bill, there will be a so-called competition bill. And this bill is a $250 billion bill that includes $52 billion in straight corporate welfare with no strings attached for a handful of extremely profitable microchip companies. Now, is there a problem in that our country is not producing the kind of microchips, the number of microchips that we should? The answer is yes. It's an issue that we have to deal with it. But we can deal with it in a way other than simply handing money to a handful of enormously profitable corporations with no protection for the taxpayer at all. Oh, and by the way, I should also mention that as part of the so-called competition bill, there is also a $10 billion handout to Jeff Bezos, one of the wealthiest people in our country, for space exploration. Combining these two pieces of legislation would push the price tag of the defense bill to over $1 trillion for 1 year. And I want people to remember that, because when we talk about Build Back Better, you talk about a 10-year bill. This is 1 year. Meanwhile, while there is limited discussion about the defense bill or corporate welfare in the competition bill, Congress has spent month after month discussing the Build Back Better Act